Hey everybody, welcome to No Breakaways, your source for all the Zwift racing tips and tricks. We're here today with a cool new feature. We're doing a live race broadcast. This is a match race between Finesse and ATP, a couple of the women's teams, where we are going to be hopping in on their race comms. We're going to be teaching you all sorts of things today. I'm here with my guest host, Ian Mulligan. How you doing, Ian?
I'm doing good. Hopefully, I don't stay frozen the whole race. Thanks for asking, Rick.
I know. Of course, we've been talking the entire time, and Ian gets frozen right when we start, so that is no good. Yeah, so let's get right into it. We'll do some rider intros here. Excuse me, we're going to do the course intro first, and we're going to go from there. Do some rider intros. Should be pretty cool. So this is the course that they're riding today. They are doing the Sand and Sequoias route, 23 kilometers, 172 meters of elevation gain. The start is right down there at the bottom, very flat at the start. And Ian, why don't you talk us through the course a little bit?
So, coming out of the starting pens, it's a left-hand turn that slowly creeps up towards the start of Fuego Flats. It's kind of a false flat of a 1 or 2%. Maybe look for that towards the end of the race to maybe play a factor. As you get onto the flats, I would say for the most part, it's pretty fast. You're going to eventually reach the Oasis Cave, which has a little bit of a kicker, maybe 2 to 3%. And as you come through there, it's the final push towards Saddle Springs. Now, once you get to Saddle Springs, you're going to face about a 4% gradient. It looks like they're on the chart. It's always hard to tell when you're in the race. You're not really looking at the gradients, but it is definitely an area where you can see some attacks out on the road where the racing really begins. Most of Fuego Flats is going to be very neutral. Most likely, you're not going to see any attacks through it. That's where I think the race really starts at Saddle Springs. Now, after that, you make one final push up towards the Titans Grove QOM, which features some 4 and 5% to the top, where after that, it's downhill rollers all the way back down towards the starting pen. After the starting pens, once you pass that, we reach the point where riders are going to have about a 30 to 40-second effort towards the finish, Rick.
Yeah, that sounds great. Should be really fun. So let's go ahead and we're going to take a look at some of these rider bios, go through the teams, and then get to the race, which starts in about 4 minutes. So first for ATP, we have Margaret Thompson. She's an 8-time USAC national champ, 3-time UCI Master mountain bike medalist, USAC Elite Level 1 coach, and we're almost positive she's the highest ranked 60 plus Zwifter in the entire series.
Quite impressive, Rick. Definitely has the Palmares of someone who's a very experienced racer. Margaret, based on her power profile, looks like someone who's definitely leading the group, leading the peloton, placing power down and applying pressure on the flats with a relatively high 20-minute power.
Awesome. Next up for ATP, we have Julie McKenzie. She's a former Cat 2 road racer, 3-time Florida state champ. She's a bronze medalist in the Masters National Criterium and also a level 1 coach and certified race skills instructor.
Looking at Julie's power profile, definitely someone who specializes in those criteriums, has good 15-second power, good 1-minute power, a possible winner in a sprint, also someone who is strong enough to lead a breakaway and lead out going into the final minute of the race.
We have Megan Kelly. She's a mom to 9-year-old triplets. She won the USA Triathlon Sprint Nationals in her age group 15 months after giving birth to those triplets. She's a former Division I swimmer and former USA Swimming Open Water 5K Relay National Champ.
Megan, another one of those sprinter types, someone who, in the last minute of a race could be a real factor in setting up for the ultimate sprinter for ATP.
Deanna Kelly, she's a mountain biker, uses Zwift to build fitness. 2019 Whiskey 50-mile women's single speed winner and multiple podiums at 24-hour mountain bike events.
What I find always so fascinating about mountain bike riders is their high 15-second power. Yet again, another powerhouse 15-second with 8.7 watts per kilogram. You just don't know where ATP is going to go as far as their lead out train towards the end. If they have numbers at the end, look for them to maybe string something together.
Next, we have Stephanie Clark. She used to be a D1 rower for University of Georgia. She's trained horses and competed at the national level, and she picked up cycling last fall for fun and now hopes to race in real life.
Again, another powerhouse. I definitely attribute that to the rowing. Rowing is such a VO2 threshold type workout where you're definitely seeing someone who has phenomenal 1 minute power. Definitely ATP will look to try and step Stephanie Clark up for the win if they all come together at Fuego Flats.
And last for ATP, we have Wendy Lin. She's a former Division I men's lightweight coxswain, which means she sat in the back of the boat yelling instructions at him, she told me. She's working on her IRL cycling skills, and she's hoping to race for the Ostroy women's cycling team in New York. And she is right now racing with stitches after a pretty solid crash.
Wendy definitely strikes me as a roulier, someone who can kind of do it all. High 20-minute power, also a nice 15-second burst as well. Definitely will take some direction from her as far as maybe a leadership role coming from that coxswain role.
So we have about 25 seconds left. We're going to hop on over to Zwift, and we're going to complete these for the Finesse team once we get back, once they're on the Fuego Flats. So here we are. This is actually being run as a meetup, so it should be really fun. You can see all the chat over there from Ryan. That's the DS for the Finesse team. It's you can see them there. They're rolling out nice and easy at the start. We are fan viewing one of the Finesse Wahoo riders right now. It's going to be a really interesting race here. We're going to be hopping in with a couple of the teams and talking to their DSs and just checking in at some important points in the race to check on some of those race tactics. So for now, let's go through the rest of those rider bios. Looks like they're going to be soft pedaling here for a minute, and we'll come back when the race gets underway. So for the Finesse Wahoo development team, first up is Josanne Mayhew, and I apologize to all the ladies for me mispronouncing their names. So she's organized, completed in a full Ironman this summer. She said she did that with one of her friends. She used to be a runner, and she just started Zwifting in February 2020.
I think Josie Ann is definitely a wild card in this race. Being new to Zwifting since February, definitely we know that she's tough. Anyone who does an Ironman's tough. There's no doubt about it. Definitely a wild card as far as the numbers are concerned. We could see a number of things from Josie Ann, possibly leading out on the flats going into the Titans Grove QOM.
Next up, Britt Powell. She's been cycling since May from Huntsville, Ontario, Canada, and she is the self-proclaimed winner of the most bugs inhaled in one single ride.
Pretty impressive. I definitely thought I was the winner of that category.
I think we all did.
Cycling along the canal in Phoenix. I think, looking at Britt Powell, another person who, on the flats with a good 20-minute power and then also a solid 5-minute power. Part of Titans Grove QOM in this course is how well can you sustain power over a 10-minute effort. Britt Powell, definitely someone who can chase down some attacks down the stretch of the power horse legs of ATP.
Let's hop on over to Zwift for a second. We'll finish this off when we'll watch the ladies kicking off here. So there they are. They're in the group right now. Ian, why don't you take us through this for a sec?
So looking right now where they are on the course here, this is the first time through. This is going to carry them around. This is the desert turnaround, typically something you see in a team time trial and individual time trial on the Tempest course. As they will come through here, I would say it's about, at this point, probably about under a kilometer to go. Now, this is important because this is where, as a sprinter, you're starting to think about where is my position? Where am I relative to the group? Knowing that, if you're 5th or 6th back, you want to think, okay, it's time to fire up the sprint, but you're also looking at other people's numbers. A little bit of cat and mouse, knowing that at this point, you're about 800 meters, maybe about a minute and a half out from when you ultimately will get to the line. So as you come around this turn right here, you're going to see the marker, and you're going to see the ruins on the right-hand side, and kind of like Petra and Jordan. From that point, that's where the games really begin. That is where people are going to take off here on the second lap, the second time through.
We should point out Wahoo is in the blue kits, and ATP are in the gray and orange kits. So when we're walking through the teams, that's who it is. It still looks, I can't tell if they're still soft pedaling right now, but I'm seeing some pretty big numbers over there on the right. So I'm guessing they're into this race pretty heavy right now. Let's go through while they're on the flats. We're going to finish up those introductions. We'll talk a little bit more about the race. Actually, let's stay here for a second because the finish is right up there under that outcropping. So you just saw them go through the sprint marker, and this is where they'll be finishing on when they come back around. So Ian,
I would say. Sorry about that, Rick. I was about to say that right as you get to here, that's where the legs are really going to burn in the sprint, right? Is that last 50 meters right as you come into this alcove here. Go ahead, Rick.
No, I was just gonna ask you to take it through the sprint. So, yeah, well, there they go. They're for sure going now. We got a lot of flat section. We're gonna get through these introductions. We're gonna check in on the teams, talk to them about what they're trying to do with their strategy this race, and then we'll be able to listen to those team comms while they're actually trying to execute that strategy. So let's go back through our rider bios for now. All right, so let's take a look at, we went through Britt. So here's next up for Team Finesse Wahoo, Jillian Howland. She's in Kalamazoo, Michigan. She races for Team Clark Logic in real life, even though we don't like to talk about real life here. She's an ultra cyclist, and she set 3 state records this year, crossing Michigan twice with the Isosceles Quarantine, which I really liked the name Quarantine.
Definitely some very clever language. The thing I like about Julian's power profile is that you see there the 4 watts per kilogram for 5 minutes. I think that's the biggest factor in this race is what's your 5-minute power? Typically, looking at the Titans Grove QOM, it's about, a 5-minute effort is something that I would expect, around 5 minutes. And so you wonder that if Jillian's power profile, will be something that Finesse Wahoo will play during that segment.
Next up, we have Julie Audette. She cycles over 10,000 kilometers per year. She's the 2018 Whiteface uphill race age group champ at 4th overall, and she created a cycling team with a couple of the other women on this Finesse team this year.
Yeah, as we also just saw, looking at the courses here, Julie is definitely someone who's also that Roulier, someone who can kind of do it all, can have the high 20-minute threshold and also that 5-minute power. Julie and Julian will definitely play a factor, I think, on that Titans Grove QOM.
Next up, we have Caitlin Freemiller. She is a Division I soccer player. She's only been Zwifting for 1 month, and she's from Newburgh, Indiana.
Look at those sprint numbers, that 15-second power. Definitely something to keep the eye on. And, we've seen over the last couple of weeks, as Caitlin has come onto the Zwifting scene in the time trial, that 15-second power as, towards the end of a race, that's someone who you need to look at and say, okay, if Finesse Wahoo is going to take the win here, who's that lead out person? Who's that person with a minute to go that can create some separation for the sprinters? Look for Caitlin to possibly be a lead out here later in the race.
And last but certainly not least, we have Isabel Bellou. Again, Isabel, I apologize. I'm sure I'm butchering your name. She has multiple Zwift podiums. She's been biking for 5 years. She's from Chelsea, Quebec.
We definitely see the prototypical sprinter power profile here with 11 watts per kilogram, 619 watts for 15 seconds. Now, as you come into that Fuego flat sprint, it's a 35, 40-second effort. So, that's when you're looking at, okay, if Caitlin's going to possibly go, is Isabel on her wheel, right? And at that point, with, 200 meters to go, look for her to launch, maybe even sooner than that, to try and take the win.
Excellent. Thanks, Ian. Let's cut back to the race here. All the women, and I am keeping an eye on this on the background to make sure nothing's happening. All the women still together. Looks like Jillian's making a little bit of a move there. We can hop right to her. She's going off the front here at 7 watts per kilogram, up this little rise. What do you think of this, Ian?
I love it because if you watch the tactics of these races, right, the women's field, I feel like are always more tactically inclined. They definitely play the field as far as when you're looking at that small little uprise is at 2%. That's the perfect place to launch and just kind of probe as far as what's out there. Can we get a break up the road? Who's going to respond? That cat and mouse of, I've got a couple matches to burn. Why don't I burn one here and see what's going on in this race? We already see some separation, which means that maybe this probing attack might shell a couple people and they have to respond.
Yeah, it looks like they may have dropped a couple riders off the back there. It'll be interesting to see if they get back on terms or what. And yeah, really interesting move there. So it looks like this front group is coming back together. It doesn't look like they're still pushing. Yeah, so maybe this is a good time where we can hop over to some of the race comms and see what they're thinking. What do you think, Ian?
Yeah, that sounds great. I would love to know the logic behind that move.
All right, let's hop over to the Finesse race comms first.
On the front, kind of pull. It's
Hey,
coming back. Let's sit up for a little bit and rest.
Hey,
Sit up
Finesse,
for a little bit and rest.
this is Rick with No Breakaways. How are you all doing?
Julie, come over the
Awesome.
top. Come over the top.
Okay. Awesome.
Keep going. Let's just see. Okay, let's sit in and rest.
Okay, Isabel, get off the camera, but just try not to don't go with the breakaways yet because we're saving you for the end, okay? Yeah, so just stay with the pack unless I'll message Eric if I need you to do something different, okay?
Yep. You still there, Rick?
Yeah,
Okay,
we're still there. We're listening in.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe Ryan, walk us through a little bit of what we saw that big attack there and what you guys are looking to do in this race.
Yeah, so we kind of started the race, just kind of holding hands, seeing what the ATP girls are going to do to start with, and just have one or two of our girls cover any of their attacks to start with, and then try one of our own to see if we could split the group and get numbers in our favor. They were able to bring that back and stitch it back together, so we'll continue
Rick,
trying things to see if we can break it up. But
don't pull them, let them pull you.
Yep. We'll see if we can break it up again, but we don't necessarily want to burn our girls up before we hit the climbs doing so. So we'll just do a little bit of tactics to see how the race plays out, and see how ATP is able to respond, and hopefully they're doing some of the similar things.
Yeah. Well, good luck, everybody. We're going to hop back in on some of the important parts. Next time, we'll just let you guys talk. Good luck.
Thanks, Rick. Yeah, Britt, be careful about going.
All right, back in the Zwift race broadcast here. Pretty interesting stuff. Getting to hear the comms from the team. What did you think there, Ian?
It definitely seemed, I always love the term controlled chaos, right? When we're watching cycling, we never know what's really going on in that earpiece, right? So this gives us an opportunity to hear what's going on in the race so that we get a sense of there's always lots of direction, there are always lots of things being said, and it definitely takes the pressures off the rider to know that there are people who are communicating to them. It takes a lot of pressure off of them.
Yeah, I can personally attest to that. Just this morning, we had one of our team members hop in and DS us. It was wonderful. Yeah, so you kind of heard them talk a little bit about how they're trying to set Isabel up for the win there at the end, kind of just like you predicted. So very cool stuff. Yeah, while it's sitting here in the flats, let's hop on over to the ATP group. We'll listen in a bit on them and see what they have to say too. Hey, Team ATP, this is Rick with No Breakaways. How's everybody doing?
Hey, Rick. Good, right.
So Ken, we saw a little bit of an attack there. Ken's the DS for the ATP team. Can you tell us a little bit about your counter and what your strategy is here?
We were kind of just testing the groups out there at the beginning, and then when the counterattack occurred, we had Wendy in the right spot to be able to cover it and let it all come back together.
Yeah, that was very solid. Are you guys looking at it to attack at any points in the race, or who are you trying to set up for the win?
We've got a couple options for the win. We'll definitely do some attacking. We want it to be pretty lively, but we're kind of waiting to see when they're trying to burn their matches, which I'm sure they're testing us out right now before we get to the little climb here, going up into Sequoias.
Yeah, well, we'll leave you alone for this part. It looks like it's heating up, so good luck.
All right, thanks.
Well, there we go. We don't want to miss a move here. It looks like it's going up the road. Yeah, with ATP chasing them down. Another cool time to be listening in when they make an attack.
I mean, it just gets me fired up, Rick. I mean, I'm watching this. I got a little bit of goosebumps going because, you know, when you're a racer and you're watching other people race, it just gets that adrenaline flowing to the point where you're just like, I see the move. Now, who's going to respond to it? Someone has to respond. But once two people are up the road and it's a 1-to-1 split, are you going to put in a lot of work to bring them back, or are you going to let the inertia of the race take over? Especially as we head up into, I think, what a critical juncture of this part of this race is, up the Col de Saddle Springs.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see some of the attacks the teams are putting in. I think the 6 versus 6 match race really adds something to the tactics. I mean, you know, I'm so used to just riding along, sitting in the pack during the race and waiting for a hill or a bunch sprint that this is super cool to see. And I mean, you can see these teams attacking. Really neat stuff. So here we go up the Col de Saddle Springs.
This is always such a tricky segment. I know that when I race this, I'm typically trying to be towards the front of the group so that I can more adequately respond to an attack. It seems clear based on what we know tactically, based on the numbers, that a rider like Wendy Lin will definitely look to possibly bring moves back for her team. But you also have to consider, you know, how many matches do you want her to burn? I mean, right now she's pushing 6.5, 7 watts per kilogram. This is definitely a move to make Finesse Wahoo respond.
Yeah, and you know, kind of going through the profiles of the different riders. I mean, you could see just an amazing amount of experience on the ATP team. Really experienced racers when you compare them to Finesse. But everybody in this race has really strong numbers, and it's going to be interesting to see, you know, if that experience pays off. You know, I know Finesse Wahoo just on Thursday won their division of the team time trial. So, you know, these women are really coming together. I know they have teamwork down pat.
I think communication is always such a strong suit, right? Experience is one thing, but are your comms on point? Is your director and sportif thinking that one move ahead? It's almost like that chess match, right? That move that went up the road there, I think is really important because now, you know, as we start to wind up, this is where some of the first set of rollers are. And I'm interested to see how this plays out before we get to Titans Grove QOM, because certainly there are moves that can happen in these rollers.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see there's a split at the back. It looks like Deanna Kelly from ATP is actually off the back right now, which, you know, given her power profile, is surprising.
I think sometimes it's just a matter of, you know, where are you in the race? You know, when you went into that effort, where were you relative to the group? You can have a really strong 1-minute power, 15-second effort, but if you aren't positioned correctly, even in a group of 12, that gap can grow to 2 or 3 seconds. Now, I think it's probable, you know, that she can maybe catch on. I'm not really sure where she is. I'd have to check back. It looks like now she's soft pedaling. Wouldn't you think, Rick?
Yeah, it looks like that. I mean, being 22 seconds off, and I mean, you can see you know, a bit of a split has happened here on the road. If we look back, here, you know, it's looked like it's getting away. I mean, kind of spearheaded by Wendy Lin and some of the Finesse Wahoo. Some of the Finesse Wahoo women. This may be a break that stays away. What I mean, normally in a race, this is not where I'd expect a break, but this is 6 versus 6. It's a different thing.
I would agree, After that colossal springs, there are those two signs that notate, where you're going to go on the map. And I always think the make or break point on a course like this, or in general, after that, is how hard do you push from one sign to the other. I know when I'm there in a race that I stand and give it a good power 10, something, that Wendy Lynn, as a former coxswain, would definitely understand, that power 10 of 10 big power strokes to get over the top, right? So I'm surprised, but also not surprised, because there are so many group rides and so many races on Sands and Sequoia where that signage plays a part in, all right, like, can you recover quickly once you get to that point? And then can you push over the top, leaning into the 0 to 1% before it goes back up?
Yeah, and this looks like the move here. I mean, they've put 9-10 seconds on the rest of this groups. There's 5 people in this front group. We have 3 ATP, 2 Finesse Wahoo. It's going to be really interesting. I mean, we're getting close to that Titans Grove climb coming in here, which
right. It's going to be right through here, right as you come around here. I think that's a Brontosaurus. Yeah. Right as you come through there's the QOM. Now it looks like it's an even split. You have 2 Finesse Wahoo riders in the front group with 3 ATP, and then behind are 2 ATP and looks like 3 Finesse Wahoo. So you're kind of in this catch-22 of, we're 4 seconds back. How hard do we push to try and catch up?
Yeah. Well, so speaking of that, maybe we ought to hop on the ATP comms and see what see what they have to say, what they're doing. It'd be a good look at it. What do you think, Ian?
Yeah, that sounds perfect. I'd love to know the strategy or what they think as far as this climb is concerned.
All right, let's hop over there.
So you'll have more draft. And that girl's not going to make it from here on out.
Okay. I don't like this. Okay.
Oh, this is great. She's not going to make it on her own for very long.
Okay.
We've got 4 back here. We're fine.
Okay. Thank you. Guys, we have our 2 sprinters up here.
We are not working back here.
Yeah, she's sitting up, waiting for the team.
Hi.
So be ready. I mean, she might surge again, but again, you've actually got the numbers in the blob, and she's just off on her own. So catching her doesn't do anything right now.
Thank you for calming me down. I needed that.
And it's an 8-second gap now back to the other people, so you guys are kind of gone. And it's 3 on 2. Because Megan, you should just chill and let those finesse riders just pull you up to them if they do, but if not, you're just hanging on.
Yep, exactly.
Thanks, guys. I was wrong. I panicked.
No worries.
But I would catch your breath, because I mean, I would imagine at the last little pitch, that's where they'll do an attack going into the descent.
Yep. Sorry, fell off the back into a shot.
But it's like 3 or 4% right now. I mean, that's as steep as it's going to get. So just tempo. She's going 5.7. You guys could be going 4 and 4.5 behind her and still be in her draft.
I have a feather. Power up still.
Well, burn your power-ups before the top.
Before
so you can at least, I mean, you want, unless you have the arrow.
All right, let's hop on. Let's hop on over to the finesse team and see what they're saying. Super interesting stuff here.
I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yep.
Yep. Keep taking turns, coming through and bring that group back. Y'all are looking good. So this right-hand turn here, Julie.
Yeah.
This is gonna be it's gonna kind of flatten on the right hand, and then when you hit the down tree is when it starts to pick up again. That's
Right,
just
you're
when
looking
you're
really
gonna
strong.
wanna.
Keep it up.
You're really gonna want to be ready to watch them kick on this down tree. You don't necessarily want to kick yourself, but be ready for them to.
Ladies, remember, don't do it all sitting. Stand, give yourself a little bit of time, standing as well. Just like we talked about today.
Chasing, this is a great spot to attack. Go for it and try and see if you can't drop one or two of these ATP riders going across. I want all four of you to try and attack here.
That's it, ladies. Even if you only stand for like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, just give it a little kick when you stand.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Good job, good job, good job. That's it. Yes, good girl. That's it.
There you go, Britt.
Awesome. There we go. Nice attack. Nice attack.
Go with her, Jillian. It levels out here pretty soon.
That was an awesome attack.
Yep, go for it, girl. All the way across.
Look at that. You're bridging it.
You're dropping those two. You're dropping one of those girls. You're getting the numbers on them. Go.
Go, Britt, go. Woo!
All of you. All four of you. Go across. Keep going.
I'm so excited.
There you go. Keep coming. Go all the way over the top. Don't just catch them. Go all the way over the top of them. They're seeing this coming and they're attacking. So Julie and Isabel, hold that attack. Keep going, Britt. Caitlin, keep going.
Britt, go.
They don't want
you're gonna get downhill.
They're countering. That's it. Come on, Jillian. Give me a little bit over the top. Give me a little over the top.
Over the top. Stand
Come on,
and give it your all.
You're right there. Get in that draft. Get in that draft, Jillian. Keep going. One more search. All right, you're losing the draft. Lighten up. Just go in the super tuck.
Well, that was pretty exciting stuff there.
That was super intense. I mean, just the difference in team chat, because we joined at different points, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's racing right there. I mean, I'm watching Alan right now. She's 3 seconds, but she set her teammates up there, right? And now I think, looking at it, do we have an even split? Is it 3-on-3 now?
Yeah, let's take a look. Yep, 3-on-3.
Looks like it's 3-on-3, Rick.
It'll be interesting to see if Howland and Powell can get back to that group here on the flats. I mean, it seems like with a really hard push, but it doesn't look like they got it.
The key is going to be, as you come through the rollers here, if I'm DSing Finesse Wahoo, I'm saying to Powell and Howland, go again on those rollers. That 4 seconds is not insurmountable. I've been in races where it's 4 seconds at this point, and I've caught it back. Now, granted, you're going to be gassed, right? But if you have those numbers, then you can get that micro rest and you can push again. Yeah. But coming into this here is an 8%er. Right as you get to this sequoia tree here, Rick, it kicks back up to 7 or 8%. It's going to climb up. So let's see if anything happens just here. I don't think it will, but we might see a miniature attack just to see what legs are existing here.
Yeah, let's get back up to this front group. Yeah, it looks like Howland and Powell, that might be their day. I don't see them putting out the huge numbers they need to get back. And that front group surprisingly seemed pretty content. My guess is that this is going to be the group that's going to the line.
Well, I think, looking at the race tactics, it was pretty clear that Finesse Wahoo had to get someone else into that group, right? They had to respond to get back on even terms to 3-3. So you had to have someone sacrifice and pull someone up so that it was that 3-3 split. And that's what it looked like the strategy was, that Howland and Powell sacrificed their chances to put Caitlin into this group to make it a 3-on-3 split.
Yeah, and don't forget, Caitlin's a sprinter for Finesse Wahoo. So, I mean, a really good move. And I mean, especially interesting, we're listening to the ATP race comms, and they are talking about how, they got the numbers. They have 3-on-2. Don't do the work. Let them do everything. And then turns out Finesse Wahoo on the other side is figuring out a plan to get a third or fourth person up there. Pretty amazing.
Well, I think it's that catch-22 situation of, I want that other team to do the work because I have the numbers. But now I also have to worry about the possibility of a counterattack from those in the group that are behind to try and catch up. Because I don't have to push the pace if I'm ATP. So not only am I not pushing the pace, but I also have to be wary of the fact that possibly Finesse Wahoo could bring up someone else on it. So we did see a response there. As soon as ATP saw that Finesse Wahoo was pushing, they did respond to make sure that Powell and Howland did not bridge that gap as well.
Yeah, very, very interesting stuff. And so for we kind of go back through these riders. We have Lynn, Clark, and Kelly, M. Kelly, who is not related to Deanna Kelly, for ATP. So if we take a look, we have Megan Kelly has 9.9 watts per kilo sprint. Lynn has a 9 watts per kilo sprint. And who was the other one that I said that Clark. So, and Clark has a 13 watt per kilo sprint. So they got to be setting up Stephanie Clark here for the win, I would think.
I would agree. I would say that so far the workhorse, or as far as, if you were to grant a combativity award, would definitely be Wendy Lane, without a doubt. She has definitely shouldered the workload and has attacked at multiple points in this race.
Yeah, and she has a huge engine too. For Wahoo, we have Julie Audette, we have Isabel Velou. I apologize. I feel terrible if I'm messing that up. And we have Powell. So Julie Audette is about 8.5 watts per kilo. Isabel is 11 watts per kilo. And Julie, Isabel, and who is the other one? Caitlin. Thank you. Yeah, and Caitlin has a 9.2, but 629 watts. So, and Isabel has 619 watts. So they have huge watts. So it's gonna be a close sprint. But if I were a betting person, I think I think Stephanie Clark, probably the betting favorite for ATP. What do you think, Ian?
I think there isn't any doubt about that, just based on pure numbers. I mean, we can have the discussion of watts per kilogram versus raw watts, but I think when it comes down to it, Stephanie Clark is definitely the favorite to take this sprint. Now, if you're Finesse Wahoo in this head-to-head, and you're scoring it based on all 6 riders, that you've had a rider drop from ATP. You know that. So then you're looking at, okay, can we live with the fact that Stephanie Clark takes the win, and can we get our other riders in front of the other 2 ATP riders? That's the kind of the line of thinking. If you can't get the win, can you score the other points that are there in that top 6 that cancels out the win?
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. And I see here, so something that we didn't expect, they have 5 kilometers left to go. So they are not, they can't be ending at the normal archway, can they, Ian? It's not 5K from here to there.
I do not believe that it is. I think from here to the archway is about 2.2.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
I think that makes it even more interesting, because then you take away that marked line of, I know that my race is at 35-40 seconds.
Yeah.
So I think this is where, post-race, we talk to the director of sportives and say, we noticed that it didn't end at the archway. What was your strategy going into the last kilometer? And like I said, boom, called it. The railway. We definitely see a move here up the road, but it looks like Isabella. Yeah.
So she's going after it here at I saw her up at 6.5, 5 watts per kg. Interesting decision not to sit in. Again, me being just unbelievably lazy, I would always choose to sit in. Do you think there's any chance a move can stick here?
I would err on the side of saying no, based on race experience and also watching other races. This is a move that, since it's 3-on-3, you're going to apply pressure to ATP. And Wendy Lynn, I'm going to guess, is going to shoulder the effort as far as bringing Isabel back here. That's my line of thinking. Maybe, you put some pressure on them, but I can't see a move getting away here. It's more or less to see, okay, if I go, will anyone come with me? So we see them slowly bring her back. It's the pack effect on the flat. Someone getting away, you would have to put out monster numbers to really get away. And even then, the numbers work against you, right? There's that mathematical equation in cycling where, why don't breakaways get away? Because they know how much power they have to put out and how much speed they have to. And the single individual, it makes it really hard to get away.
Yeah, and I mean, if it were me, and again, it's not, but if I was Finesse, I'd be just hanging on and see if you can get Powell and Howland back in that group, have them put in a big dig. They're only, when they started that, they were only a couple seconds behind, but it looks like Caitlin Freemiller is going over the top here at 7 watts per kilogram. So they're attacking.
Definitely the aggressive, the best defense is a good offense kind of approach here of, let's first take our sprinter and give her an effort. Now she has time to sit on. And, you're trying to ultimately make it so that, Wendy Lynn as the workhorse is not going to really be there to put out a great lead out effort. And you're then going to shoulder it on the 2 sprinters. And can those 2 sprinters sync it up, right?
Yeah.
You're playing the odds here. They've put in 2 seconds. And so now you kind of have to consider if it's 2-on-2 and it's this point in the race, do you just let those 2 go?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, you can see over there on the right-hand side, Stephanie Clark, the ATP sprinter, she's just sitting in. She's just tucked in there at the back. Lynn and Kelly from ATP are just, I mean, they're doing a fantastic job covering these moves. And Wahoo is doing a great job really trying to put the hurt on them. Really interesting dynamics in a race like this. It looks like, you can see Freemiller and Lynn have put 4 seconds on the group. So, and it's not like the group behind them is huge.
It's not. And I think, if you're going to make a move back like we see right now and attempt a bridge, you can't have anyone go with you. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, Rick, but I believe the draft power-up is dual fold, meaning that you also have the ability to draft well, but it also pushes other people out of your draft. Is that correct?
No, the van, no, it just allows you to draft. The one that pushes out of your draft is the burrito.
Oh, that's the burrito power-up.
Yeah.
You can tell how many races I do with power-ups based on that comment.
Well, yeah, and so Isabel, it looks like, brought the whole group back there, which, yeah, that's a really interesting move. So we have about 2 kilometers left. I think we ought to listen to the race comms for the rest of the way. What do you think, Ian?
I think that's perfect. I would say the one last thing, if anyone's like, well, why did she bridge that? I mean, 4 seconds in a sprint at maximum velocity, you're kind of playing the odds as far as that 4 seconds can also be close. But let's go ahead and let's connect to the race comms.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead. We're gonna get on Stephanie Clark here, the big ATP sprinter. We're gonna go to the Finesse race comms first, for about a K or so, and for the last K, we'll listen to the ATP race comms.
Perfect. See you there.
Sit on their wheels. Don't pass them.
Britt, you and Jillian work really hard. Work really hard right now. Julie McKenzie is trying to catch you. If the 2 of you can work really hard, maybe you can surprise our 3 up front. But let's make sure that McKenzie does not catch you.
Good job, Caitlin. Pardon?
I've got a pretty strong sprint, I can say today.
You lost everybody.
If you guys need me.
You're still there. You're still there. I'll let you know if
Okay,
anything happens.
Julie, I want you to give me a little bit of a tempo right here.
Julie?
Yep, Julie and Isabel, I want you to give me another attack right here.
Isabel, he wants you to do a little bit of tempo here, so you're just going to pick it up a bit. Go to like
No,
4.
I want a serious attack.
Oh, a serious attack he wants. So
Yep.
push, Isabel.
I want them
your
to
heart
pull.
rate's your heart rate's 168. You can go. Go,
I
Isabel.
want them to pull Caitlin to the finish for the sprint. We're setting
Okay,
Caitlin up
pull
for the
Caitlin.
sprint.
You guys are pulling Caitlin to the finish for the sprint because Caitlin's a sprinter.
So Isabel and Julie, really work hard to pull this. Make it
Push.
hard.
Make it hard for them. Caitlin, stay there.
$800 meters.
Remember
100
the
meters to
extra.
go? No. We still have 0.2
No.
miles.
No, we don't. We have 0.7 kilometers.
Yeah.
0.6 kilometers. Yeah.
we want the order to be Megan, Wendy, and Stephanie. So Megan, whenever you feel like you can just go and hold it, you go, and Wendy, just don't put out any effort. Just kind of stay on her wheel. And then Stephanie, you just surf. And then at the very end will be when you'll light it up.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go when we get out of here.
You still got a little ways to go.
All right, I'll wait. That's point 2.
300 to go.
All right, start lighting it up if you can. Yep, go, 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 go. Up, up, up.
Go!
Empty the tank. That's all you got. Go, Stephanie. There you go. Good, 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 good.
Go, 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 go.
Go, Chef!
Stephanie, you got it. Good, good, good. Go, Wendy. Go, Wendy. Go, Wendy.
Ah! Wait, you said
what?
Stephanie was second.
Good,
Who's
good, good.
second, third, fourth?
Good job! I sprinted late, but
Great,
that was
great,
awesome.
great.
Whoa. Way to go, girls. You're the best.
And that's how you win it. Good job.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ken. Freaking awesome, Ken. Sorry for my
I'm
confetti.
just glad it worked out. God, Julia, I feel so bad for you. You had that power out on the climb.
I'm so
Oh,
sorry.
Oh,
Hey, ATP, this is Rick from No Breakaways. Congratulations on your win.
thank you.
We were watching you there at the end. Tell us a little bit about the finish.
Painful. Steph, do you want to go? Or?
I love sprinting. I think that was awesome. That was a great sprint.
Yeah, well, we saw your Zwift power numbers. We can tell you love sprinting.
Oh, yeah.
What?
And my job was just to try to stay up there and give it my all for Steph at the end there.
Yeah.
I did it. Yeah, Wendy and Megan.
Yeah, it looks like you guys, I mean, you had it lined up like you wanted. We saw Wendy doing work all race, just pulling back everything. It's pretty impressive. Way to go. Congratulations.
Just try to pull back every move.
Yeah. And I thought I'd lost the front group and had to surge back in Titans Grove. So that pretty much killed me.
I'm glad you had the sleeping Julie.
Yeah,
Julie had a
Julie got
dropout
a
right
dropout.
there.
Yeah.
I
had to
saw
hop off.
her come off.
I
Yeah.
had to sprinter. Plug in
Yeah.
my trainer.
That
Our
was
girls! Ken! Yeah!
That was really fun.
Yeah, congratulations. Way to go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
thank you
so
all.
much.
This was fun.
No, I don't want to fan view this guy.
There are some challenges, but. Hey, Rick.
Hey, Team Finesse, how are you?
Good.
Good.
Looked like a good hard race there.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
So tell us a little bit about the race and how it ended up.
Yeah, so we it did look like we were able to get a good break going into Titans Grove there. ATP initially did get the numbers on us. They had the 3 versus 2. But our second group was able to bridge one rider across to get us first in a good 3-to-3 situation. And then we actually had, which created a good possibility for a tie. So we were working really hard to get our 4th rider across ahead of their 4th rider just in case. And then we had our 4th and 5th that were working really well to stay ahead. So they did a very good job of keeping that position. And then Caitlin had a really good sprint, so we were working to try and tire their sprinters out, set up a nice pull-out train for Caitlin. They obviously had a very good sprinter on their own right at the end there. That was very impressive by Clark. But yeah, that was we were trying some attacks there to see if we could break it up, maybe get another break off the front. Maybe keep it from being as much of a bunch sprint as it turned out to be. But yeah, they did a very good job of covering what we were doing. It was very fun to be a part of.
Yeah, it was fantastic race, and we really were admiring your attacks off the front there, ladies.
It was awesome. Can I shout out to Britt, who I'm at one point I think her heart rate was 205, and I'm like, you can do a little more.
Like one beat more. One beat more.
I find like de-icing is actually more stressful than racing. So like Ryan, my goodness. I don't know how you do this all the time. I was
Especially
like,
when I have to give comms to one girl through another person on what I want to happen.
yeah,
And
we
they
had
put an
some
extra
comms
challenge in
issues.
as well.
Oh.
So I had Isabel on my Facebook video, and then I was like switching the messages over to her, and I'm like, "What do you want her to go?" And he'd say yes, and I thought he would say no, and I'm like, "No, go, 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 go."
We heard a little bit of that, and it was like, yeah, we were wondering what was going on. That was yeah, that was super cool.
Yeah, no, it was these girls killed it. Like I'm so proud of them, honestly. You wouldn't know that they've only been like the team's only been put together like for like 2 weeks now, and it's it's coming together really well, and the girls are awesome, and we're having so much fun. I think they're having fun.
I
Well,
Nobody hates me yet, so that's good.
Rick, do we want to switch over to the general chat so we can get all the ATP girls and Finesse girls talking in one chat?
I think we're probably just going to cut to me and Ian and wrap it up for now.
Night, Ian.
Good
Hi,
job.
Ian.
Good job, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Well, that was a really exciting race. Really really fun to watch. What are your takeaways, Ian?
I was surprised, when we were talking about the ending of the race, right? And we had talked about Wendy Lynn being the workhorse, shouldering a lot of the work throughout that race. I think, she was definitely the X factor. Out of all the riders who participated, that was the one rider who I thought, was marking everything, was setting up attacks for her teammates, was doing those intangible things that I think ultimately led to them being able to, win the race. But then going back, Rick, we talked about this is also about points, right? We talked about that as they're approaching the railway. It's about total points scored. I don't know the standings, but as I said, right, you can let Stephanie Clark win, but can you then also have the remaining riders outscore the rest of them?
Yeah. Yeah, and so the women coming in seventh and eighth are a big deal and holding them off. And I'm sure Finesse was a little disappointed not getting them across to that front group. I mean, they were right there at the top of Titans Grove.
It's always so hard when you're like 3 or 4 seconds. It's almost as if, when you're 4 seconds up, there's that worry in the back of your mind that they're going to pull you back. But then it's the opposite when you're 4 seconds off. You're pushing so hard. And as we heard in team chat there, Finesse Wahoo, come on, you can push a little harder. And you're already at that max. Can you get to that level where you're not sure where you can go? It's always we talk about training should be the hardest thing so that in a race where you can push. But when you've been only racing as a team on Zwift for 2 weeks, what are those limits? There are limits that you're always going to explore, but it's a good benchmark for both teams to be like, here's the data, here's the numbers, here's our performance. Now let's build off of that. I think there's a lot of positives that both of these teams can take away from it. And what's interesting is that Mackenzie, she was the one who had the power outage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were wondering as they headed towards Titans Grove, and she started drifting back, and I was like, is she soft pedaling? To me, I always am optimistic about it, and I'm like, I think that's a power dropout.
Yeah.
I mean, right away, I thought it was a power dropout. I don't know if you saw the Oh My Crit race this morning, but I was watching a stream on Twitch where a guy was over the top, and then as soon as he reached the top power, like all of a sudden he just was slowing down. I'm like, that's a power outage. And it's a bummer, right? Because there's always that what if in the scoring that you're like, so what if she doesn't have a power dropout?
Yeah.
Is Finesse Wahoo able to bridge that gap and deliver Caitlin to the front there?
Right.
It's always that what if, but that's why we race.
Yeah. Mechanicals come in all different forms, right? Even if it's electrical. So anyways, yeah.
Definitely.
Well, Ian, thank you for joining me. That was a ton of fun. Hopefully everybody, we learned a lot about some different team tactics. Super fun listening in on the comms. If you liked this, Please click like and subscribe. We got some super cool content coming out this week. You're not going to want to miss some stuff I don't think you've seen anywhere. It may not teach you anything, but it's going to be super fun. So, a little bit of a teaser there. All right, Ian. Thanks a lot, man. We'll talk.